A very warm welcome back to the Red Bull Ring, where round 5 of the Euroformula Open in 2023 continues with race number 2. It's the first of our 2 top 6 reverse grid races. This one taken from the results of race 1. We have 20 laps, or a maximum of 30 minutes, whichever comes first, for this race around this 4.3 kilometer circuit in the Styrian Mountains. Track temperature considerably cooler than what it was when we went racing yesterday, 26 degrees, as we're still only at 10:30 local time. Slight delay to proceedings owing to a couple of red flags in some of the earlier qualifying sessions that we've had out this morning. But now we're getting racing action underway shortly. My name is Chris Stevens. Alongside me is George Morgan. And George, we have a bit of action to come ahead.
Yeah, back at the Red Bull Ring yet again, and after a stellar showing yesterday from a dominant Noel Leone, it has to be said, a stellar drive, and I think just goes to show the level of confidence this young man has acquired. Obviously, didn't have the easiest of times when he was racing in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, but once again, Motorpark proving that they can nurture young talent and try and build them back up again, because confidence is a major factor when it comes to racing. And Noel Leone, a perfect advert now on display, given the fact that Formula 3 will be looking for new drivers next season. I'd imagine that his name will be on the list of many. Plenty of other names to look at as well. Obviously, we've got our 2 debutants, Joshua Dufek finishing on debut, P3, stellar performance again. Another name that has been brought in by the Crypto Tower and Motorpark team in hope of improving right to the end of the season. And the same has to be said for Charlie Wirtz, of course, a former champion, twice a champion in fact, most recently the Oceania Championship in the Formula Regional Series, and has since moved across from Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine to the Euroformula Open Championship, and now driving the Dallara 320 chassis here at the Red Bull Ring. Didn't have a bad display, improved in towards the latter stages and got faster and faster and more comfortable with the car. I'd imagine this is where we will see more from the likes of Joshua Dufek and that of Charlie Wirtz. So looking forward to seeing that. It's going to be special.
Yeah, Charlie Wirtz lining up on the front row of the grid for this reverse grid race. And for his debut yesterday, it was a good race, despite what it might look like on paper. It's his first time starting one of these Euroformula Open cars, and they're not known for being the easiest thing to get off the line, and they do have a different clutch system to the Formula Regionals that he will have become accustomed to over the course of the year. And we saw a number of drivers struggling to get off the line yesterday. Wirtz was one of them. But once he actually got up and underway, the pace was incredibly strong. And so starting from the front row of the grid, and if he can get it off the line cleanly, then we may be able to see what he's built of. But Bryce Aaron, second in the championship, is the man starting on pole position for this one. The young American racer who's come over for his first season in Europe. And there we can see the man himself will be lining up on reverse grid pole. And then this is Charlie Wirtz, luckily not running the same Motorpark and Crypto Tower colours as his teammates, so nice and easy to spot there. But the Monte Carlo born and raised Austrian, son of former F1 driver and of course 2-time Le Mans winner, Alex Wirtz as well. Francesco Simonazzi, he'll be lining up third on the grid for this one. It was a very difficult qualifying for him after having his best lap times deleted because he incurred too many track limits excursions. So this will be the only race where he doesn't line up last, unfortunately. And then our other debutant, Joshua Dufek, a Swiss driver, but born in Camden Town, London, who will be going for another podium today, I'm sure. Cian Shields, he finished second yesterday. We could see what he's made of. It was his 4th podium finish of the season for the young Scotsman. And of course, 6th after a very dominant performance yesterday, and dominant all weekend, has been fastest in every single session so far. Championship leader, Noel Leone.
The one we really have to make
4 wins to his name this season now, Noel Leone, and a stellar showing already off the back of qualifying and racing yesterday. Jakob Bergmeister, who had a little bit of fun of his own, battling with the likes of Vladimir Neteschel yesterday, who was obviously chasing the Gold Cup trophy, but Jakob Bergmeister finally made his way past, gave it everything. The young man with a lot of promise still to deliver for that of Motor Park. We then, of course, had Paolo Brajnik, the Serbian, who's starting from 8th place. He himself led the way in the Gold Cup trophy, and yeah, great showing from him too, ahead of Vladimir Netashil.
And Vladimir Netashil providing not only the entertainment on the track, but off the track last night as well, with a live fashion show. Something I've never seen at a racetrack before, but he and his partner organising that with their sponsors to raise money for a Czech charity called the Ego Foundation, which is raising money for homeless children in the Czech Republic. So that was quite the display last night.
Wholesome, very wholesome cause, and certainly displayed. It captured the attention of the paddock, that's for sure.
Definitely
and it was something special. But yes, wonderful cause, and just goes to show what racing can do.
Let's look back at what happened in race number 1 yesterday. An awful start for a number of the drivers, but luckily everybody got away cleanly, including Noel Leon from pole position. He scampered clear, and Cian Shields was the man who came out in 2nd place as well. And Vladimir Netashil up to a astonishing 3rd, and suddenly it found himself under a lot of pressure from the cars behind. Francesco Simonazzi being the first one of them going into turn 3, the Italian having just come back from a few appearances in FIA F3, made his way through. Charlie Wirtz coming back up the order as well after a very difficult start, but the battle of the race was definitely Jakob Bergmeister versus Vladimir Netashil, and Bergmeister getting his man around the outside of turn 4. But for Noel Leon, it was plain sailing, and a 4th victory of the season to further extend his championship lead, having been fastest in every practice, pole position, and race 1 win so far. And this is what it's done to the Drivers' Championship. Noel Leon is now 36 points clear of Bryce Aaron, and Cian Shields closing in a little bit now, within 10 points of Bryce Aaron. Simonazzi now in 4th place, and Juju Noda still ahead of Jakob Bergmeister, though, and that's important for the Rookie Championship as well, if we see Juju Noda back for the remainder of the season. But the race 2 about to get underway. Formation lap about to get underway then, and Bryce Aaron will lead them away from the reverse grid pole position. Here's how they'll line up on the grid. It's Bryce Aaron alongside Charlie Wirtz on his debut weekend, Francesco Simonazzi alongside the other debutant, Joshua Dufek, on the 2nd row of the grid. Cian Shields, after his podium yesterday, lines up 5th, and Noel Leon, yesterday's race winner, in 6th, ahead of Jakob Bergmeister, and Paolo Brajnik, the Gold Cup winner from yesterday. And then lining up at the back of the grid, it's Vladimir Netashil for Effective Racing in 9th position. We're about to get the formation lap underway, George.
We certainly are, and now the mission of the drivers is going to just be them and the cars, and they'll have to get the tyres up to temperature before they then return to their grid spots. Great to see the spectators here at Red Bull Ring 2. Obviously, it's been a warm occasion as we've sort of traipsed deeper into the day. Obviously, it tends to start pretty cold, but naturally, as the sun begins to shine across this circuit here in the mountains of Austria, such stellar scenery here, and the teams, their connections, families will all be watching, no doubt, to see whether their drivers can produce on the day. I'm excited to see how Charlie Wirtz gets on, because, of course, like I said, he was showing improvements towards the end of yesterday's race 1, and getting adjusted from the Tata chassis into the Dallara 320. Obviously, you'll be looking to try and extract more from this car, and I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that he is going to be capable of doing that.
Yes, and looking to get more experience in the Dallara chassis. Was speaking to Charlie earlier, and he's definitely eyeing up a move to the FIA Formula 3 Championship next year, as I'm sure are a number of drivers on this grid, and Noel Leon should certainly be one of them, and definitely one that the teams should be looking at as well. But the board displayed at the front of the grid, and Bryce Aaron, car number 23 from Winnetka, Illinois, 19 years old, will lead them away. Plenty of wheel spin, and we get to hear the 2-litre 4-cylinder engines roar back into life. And this is going to be an important one, I think, George, because the tyres have been holding up very nicely so far this weekend, and it should mean that they can push a little bit harder than normal. It's certainly what we've seen accustomed to since the mid-season switch over to Pirelli rubber.
Yeah, obviously with this track itself being quite a short lap, the actual track exterior itself, 2.683 miles, that's 4.318 kilometers, and only 10 corners for the teams to adjust, and they're all relatively fast speed. I would say the only part that's really mid-speed is that of the middle sector. Remus is of course quite tight. You tend to go slow speed, you're turning back on yourself. It's over 90 degrees in terms of bend, so you are almost turning back on yourself slightly. And then Slosh Gold, where many drivers have already alluded to the fact that it's probably the toughest corner on the track. It's a heavy braking zone, but also you've got the downwards, should we say, delevation, I suppose, instead of elevation, because you are essentially descending down, and it's almost got two layers to it. So you've got to try and harness the car without losing traction and at the same time grip, and also just to make sure it's steady. Heading through then towards Rochenberg curve, relatively fast pace, double left-handers, and you want to be careful of turn 7. You don't want to dip too far into the gravel. It's claimed a few across the weekend. At the end of the day then, you've got the nice run through Rindt heading through to the Red Bull Mobile curve, which can very much sink or certainly gain you a place when you go on to your next lap.
Bryce Aaron certainly taking his time on this formation lap and doing a lot of aggressive weaving to try and generate some tyre temperature. And no, it's certainly a little bit cooler compared to what it was yesterday, and indeed what it will be when we go racing this afternoon. Simonazzi lighting up the rear tyres on his BVM racing machine. We're very accustomed to seeing him do that, not just when he's on the formation lap trying to build tyre temperature. But it will be Bryce Aaron in the Motorpark colours with the white wing tips to look out for, car number 23. Josh Dufek in 4th place. You can spot him. He's got a lot more red trim on his car. And then Cian Shields, always easy to spot because he's got a bright yellow helmet as well. You can see that from a mile away. In fact, I could see it from the pit lane when, because our commentary box is right opposite the Motorpark garage as well. That's how bright it is. But Bryce Aaron takes up his grid slot. We're about to get underway for the second race of the weekend for the Euroformula Open in round 5 at the Red Bull Ring in 2023. The teams nervously watching on, family and friends, of course, here to support their drivers as well. Green flag is waved at the back, and we have the lights coming on now at the Red Bull Ring for the continuation of round 5. It's lights out at the Red Bull Ring. Bryce Aaron gets away very nicely indeed, as does Simonazzi behind him. He's drawing up alongside Charlie Wirtz already. He's already made a better start than he did yesterday. Wirtz could just hang this up on the inside here. He does hang on to 2nd place. That's going to give Joshua Dufek a run at the Italian as well as they head up the hill. But Simonazzi not finished with his fight for 2nd place just yet. They are side by side coming up towards the braking zone of turn 3, and Wirtz has to make a very aggressive defense here to keep Dufek at bay. And Wirtz with the inside line, he does just about hang on to 2nd place. Dufek now up alongside Simonazzi for 3rd place, and he'll have the line into the next braking zone as well. No Leon is right behind them as well. He's made a fantastic start, but he's got to be careful not to lose his front wing here while these two drivers are squabbling with each other. Simonazzi brakes very, very late and hangs it out around the outside.
Stellar showing there from Simonazzi, and also credit to Charlie Wirtz, a ruthless streak heading out of turn 1. He managed to close off. Great to see the drivers didn't overextend into turn 1 at Niki Lauda curve, but heading towards Remus, it certainly was Wirtz who dramatically shifted to the right-hand side from his POV and held position, did very well. And again, he needs that to ensure, just build that confidence, try and nail in a superb level of pace heading through the initial laps, give yourself a platform so that you can rise later on. Already a good showing from Noleone in 5th place. Again, we've seen that pace from him all season long. It's got better and better, and certainly Joshua Dufek in 4th, looking very smart right now. But Bryce Aaron trying to check out as here comes Noleone heading in towards turn 1. He's going to have a look, I think, on the driver ahead of him, that of course being Joshua Dufek, but no move could be made, but he might time something heading up towards Remus.
Yeah, that was really interesting. It was like he was trying to pull out of the slipstream there, but it's Bryce Aaron who leads by 1.1 seconds as they complete the first lap. Charlie Wirtz has held 2nd place ahead of Simonazzi, and then Dufek, Noel Leon has made up a place into 5th. And Cian Shields, big lock up though for Simonazzi going into turn 3, getting very close to the back of Wirtz's car, and luckily Dufek wasn't in a position to strike on that position for the podium. So Simonazzi's got away with it.
Yeah, Simonazzi, of course, has fond memories of this circuit. We see a battle further back as well.
Comes
It's going to
Leon.
be Josh Dufek and Noel Leon coming together through towards Slosh-Gold as they cut through down the inside. Noel Leon not able to quite make the move, but Dufek, slower on exit, still though hangs on to that 4th place as these two now duel it out. But again, Leon flashing all over the rear of that of Dufek's car. Don't forget as well, Cian Shields watching on him behind. If anything happens between those two, he'll have an opportunity to strike himself.
Yeah, Noel Leon trying to get up around the outside at turn 4, realised he wasn't going to go the long way around, tried to get the undercut and the exit, but couldn't line the car up by the looks of it. Dufek just got a good enough exit himself. This battle continues. So Dufek with the extra red trim on his car leading this 3-car motor park run car battle ahead of Noel Leon and Cian Shields with the yellow helmet, as we mentioned. Easier to spot at the back of that queuing car number 73. Fastest lap of the race being set by Bryce Aaron. The gap now 1.3 seconds to Charlie Wirtz. Heading back up the hill now towards turn 3. Now can Noel Leon line up a move on Dufek this time? Noel Leon, the championship leader, going up against the debutant this weekend. There was a little jink to the inside there from Noel Leon, trying to distract Dufek. I think you're going to have to work a little bit harder to make a move on a man of Dufek's caliber, but right in the slipstream now, going towards the downhill braking zone at turn 4. It looked like he was in striking position. We'll wait for them to come through the picture as Simonazzi goes through in 3rd place, but Noel Leon definitely looked like he was lining up a move there on Dufek, and they're side by side now coming towards turn 6. Noel Leon is the car on the outside, and Dufek standing his ground, doing a superb job keeping the championship leader at bay, and Noel Leon weaving this way and that way, desperately trying to find a way through.
Yeah, that's a driver with tenacity. That's a driver with confidence. Noel Leon leading the championship for this very reason. He's got that killer instinct as they head down towards Jochen Curve, still chasing after Joshua Dufek, who he himself, a stellar driver, getting more and more comfortable, just like Charlie Wirtz with the car as they round onto the next lap now, essentially lap 3, as we make our way up towards Lauda. It is still Bryce Aaron who's controlling the pace, but Charlie Wirtz, very impressed. He's still maintaining his own gap. He has lost a little bit of time, though, in that final sector, as we see Simonazzi trying to urge closer.
Yeah, I think Dufek just got a little hip and shoulder there on the exit of the first corner. That might give Noel Leon the run. He seems to be very good on the exit of turn 3. It's where he's been challenging Dufek the most, and Dufek feels the need to go defensive into turn 3 this time. Noel Leon will get the old up and under, the drive out of here. Oh, he practically touched him out of the corner. Dufek with a massive wobble on the exit going on to this back straight, and this time Noel Leon is going to be on the outside once again, but he's drawn a little bit further ahead this time, but Dufek just jams it back up the inside. Noel Leon once again tries to get the drive out of the corner, but he'll be on the wrong line. He's surely not going to go right around the outside of turn 6. Well, he's giving it a go. He's really giving it a go, but Dufek shows him the curbing on the outside, and this is a sensational battle. Joshua Dufek is holding off Noel Leon longer than anybody else has been able to all season.
And Cian Shields needs to watch his nose as well, because of course Noel Leon is flashing all over the front of him here. Dufek going ultra defensive into Rindt, as again Noel Leon looks to try and spy a potential overtake opportunity down towards the Red Bull Mobile curve yet again. They'll cruise down the straight before then venturing through towards turn 1. A stellar showing from Dufek, who's trying to unleash the grand wall of Joshua Dufek into turn 1. Again, movements in the back as now Noel Leon flashes on by, looks to try and cut back out of Lauda. Can he overtake him on the stretch towards Remus? He might have the overspeed. I think he had a slightly better exit, and Joshua Dufek will now see his Motor Park Crypto Tower counterpart now going side by side up towards Remus. These two have been duking it out all race long, and now they remain side by side. A lock up from Dufek, a switch back from Leon into Cian Shields, but still Dufek hanging on.
This is unbelievable. Cian Shields practically got into the back of Noel Leon at the apex as well. All this is really costing them. They were about a second and a half slower than the cars in front of them last time round while they're doing all this squabbling. Noel Leon again tries the outside of turn 4. No way through. Dufek is driving the widest Euroformula open car you've ever seen. And again into turn 6. Shows him the door, and Cian Shields is playing this really smart as well, because he's just waiting for his moment to come through, because I think he suspects, and probably we suspect as well, that this could well end in tears.
Well, sheer poetry here at the Red Bull Ring. We have seen many a grand race in the past. Single-seaters have always travelled well around this very circuit. As I said, fast-paced, not to mention a couple of braking zones, some opportunities, no doubt, for overtaking that Noel Leon has certainly explored. He's seen every which way of this track as he tries to attack that of Joshua Dufek. But look at Simonazzi as well in third place, closing up to Charlie Wirtz. That's a battle that's brewing in the podium places. Bryce Aaron, though, still leading the charge, unperturbed up at the front. Very aggressive over the curve there from Joshua Dufek, and Noel Leon Shields doing exactly the same as they now venture up the hill yet again and up to the highest point on the circuit. Bryce Aaron there, you can see Charlie Wirtz right there in amongst it, as now we see once again Noel Leon looking in the mirrors, just letting Dufek know that he's there.
Yeah, Simonazzi's just done 2 fastest laps in a row and is closing down on Charlie Wirtz. Gap's just 4/10 of a second now. And this battle for 4th place is now 5 seconds behind, as again we're going side by side into turn 4. Leon tries the up and under. Dufek just knows exactly where he needs to place that car to keep Noel Leon at bay, and the slipstream effect we know has been less powerful as Leon looked up the inside that time but couldn't draw an overlap. But yeah, the slipstream not being as effective here as we would normally see. Got a yellow flag out at turn 5. So that's the kink on the exit of 4, which I imagine would be either Vladimir Neschel or Paolo Brajnik. I think it may well be Brajnik because he hasn't come across the timing line. And indeed it was. Yeah. So he's gone for a little rotation there at turn 5, and he may well be stuck there. So that's not going to be ideal. If he's out of the way by the time the leaders get back. Kean Shields starts to just fall off the back of Noel Leon that time around. You see Simonazzi still chasing Wirtz there for 2nd place. Noel Leon tucked right up in the slipstream of Joshua Dufek as well. And now with the inside line for turn 3, finally gets it done. But Dufek gets the up and under himself and isn't taking no for an answer. They touch wheels. Dufek's on the grass. This is unbelievable racing between these two. And Dufek might just find himself the inside line and get himself back ahead of Noel Leon. He's getting back up the inside. This is absolutely stellar. Noel Leon tries to get the up and under again, and now he's right back where he was a lap ago on the wrong line through here, trying the outside this time. Oh, it might work this time, though. He's drawn further alongside. Dufek just about leaves him enough space. This is absolutely sensational. Now we'll have the high ground through this right-hander, and Noel Leon finally gets it done, and that move started about 8 corners ago.
I tell you what, Noah's Ark heading through the middle sector, but Noel Leon now striking, certainly an imposition on that of Joshua Dufek, who'll now have to watch. Going out wide, Kean Shields having a little moment around the final corner, and he's going to have to try and get certainly get himself back into contention with this battle for 4th place. It has been stellar. Noel Leon now holding on to that place, but Joshua Dufek, with all the pace that he has, I'm sure he'd be looking to fight back. Charlie Wirtz with the fastest lap so far as well, so he has stolen that privilege off Francesco Simonazzi as they now make their way through turn 3. But Simonazzi, the super fast Italian, who has certainly amazed us time and time again. We saw it last season here at Red Bull Ring. We alluded to his first win in Euroformula that was decided in Parc Ferme. He's going to try and bring himself into this fight. Bryce Aaron is trying to hold them all back, as we can see the top 3 now looking to make their way through Slosh Gold, and Charlie Wirtz with a certainly gallant performance, a much improved performance, but look at who they've caught up with. It's Paolo Brajnik.
Yeah, so recovering from that spin, and now he's going to encounter some blue flags, gets out of the way very nicely, but Matt, 1 second now covers the top 3. It's closed up very nicely indeed. Bryce Aaron coming under increasing pressure from both Charlie Wirtz and Francesco Simonazzi behind him. Now, what a story it would be if Charlie Wirtz could win a race on his Euroformula Open debut weekend. The Austrian racer, and yep, fastest lap last time around, confirmation there. We'll see what it is this time around. Gap still hovering around half a second. Well, it's just gone out to about 6/10 on that occasion, actually, but still very much within striking distance here is Charlie Wirtz. We're not even at half-race distance yet. Actually, Simonazzi looks like the one who's going to be mounting a challenge here, tucked right up behind Charlie Wirtz here as they go towards the braking zone of turn 3, and Wirtz has to go defensive, but Simonazzi sold in the dummy. He's got up the inside, and Wirtz has to go wide through the runoff area and comes out with just his wing alongside, but he's going to lose out here, and Simonazzi takes second place.
A very zealous move, certainly, to say the least, but we know that Francesco Simonazzi doesn't mind getting the elbows out. He likes to have a fight, certainly here in the Euroformula Open Championship. We've seen him doing time and time again in the Dallara 320. Charlie Wirtz with the switch back, coming out of turn 4. He's going to look to try and unleash what we saw from Noel Leone earlier on, taking the long way around through Roche Curve, and now soon as they venture through Wirtz, still Simonazzi defending the place. Bryce Aaron thanking his lucky stars here at this point, because with all the fighting between P's 2 and 3, it's allowing him to career away with this lead advantage. The gap now stringing out to 1.6 seconds as they dash through Rindt.
Yeah, and look who set the fastest lap of the race. The second he was in clean air, championship leader Noel Leone, and immediately brought that gap down to 5 seconds. No doubt while these two have been squabbling, it's come down even further on this lap as well. Lead gap now 1.7 seconds, so Simonazzi doing Bryce Aaron a big favour there in getting him up the inside and getting him off the track as well, actually, going into turn 3. So Bryce Aaron pulling clear a little bit now. You see the difference of the slipstream is that Simonazzi was some 9 kilometers an hour faster than Bryce Aaron in the speed trap as well. Now track limits warnings going out to car 84. That is Simonazzi, who just took second place. So if he does that one more time, he will be taking a penalty, and we're only just approaching half race distance. So Simonazzi's got to keep it very neat and tidy now.
Yeah, of course, it was track limits that essentially hindered his qualifying back yesterday. Of course, wasn't allowed to field a faster lap after the one that he initially set. The stewards ruled that he was breaching the limits far too much. And then they turned around and basically said, right, that's it, no more for you. He ended up starting from the very back in race 1, and unfortunately that has led to him finishing at the very back as well for the race 3 that we have later on this afternoon. Bryce Aaron, though, careering away and doing a stellar job, the man from the United States, and returns here. No doubt looking to impress, and also trying to close the gap on Noel Leone, because these two are currently contesting for the championship. And given the fact that he has already shown that he is very capable of pulling off some really superb performances, I would not certainly pass him up a chance to certainly secure another win. He's already had 3 this season. He'd love to make it 4 as they now make the climb up towards Remus. And now again, Francesco Simonazzi with the pace, and he's chopping at that wood. That gap was at 1.8. It's now at 1.5.
Yes, and the gap behind him as well has come down another 1.8 seconds as well. It's only 3.2 to Noel Leone in 4th place as well. So Noel Leone could still end up on the podium here, having spent so much time poked up behind Dufek. That's some classic Simonazzi sliding right there.
Yeah. Class act, it has to be said. Certainly when it comes to driving this car, it's always a pleasure to watch Francesco Simonazzi behind the wheel of the Dallara 320, heading now in towards the Rochenwerth again, and Bryce Aaron will surely be seeing Simonazzi again very soon. He's only 1.3 back. He's managed to cut another 2/10 off the time as they make their way through the final sector here at the Red Bull Ring very shortly. There is Bryce Aaron, look, making his way down towards Rindt. Noel Leone incidentally has the fastest lap of the race now. Brajnik, though, in the pits, and by the looks of it, I think his race might be over.
Could well be. He was already a lap down, so wasn't an awful lot left for him to try and get out of this race. And you know, we had a really good chat with Simonazzi yesterday as the gap comes down a little further, 1.1 seconds now. We're having a really long chat with Simonazzi. He loves driving this car, and I can't blame him one iota. It's incredibly light, it's got so much downforce, and it races unbelievably well. And having just come back from his FIA F3 experience at both Spa and Monza, I think he appreciates this car even more, but still looking at F3 possibilities for next season, but the future seems very open for him at the moment.
Yeah, already took on a drive for Carlin when he raced in Formula 3, and certainly coming back here to the Euroformula Open Championship needs to give himself all the chance in the world of perhaps scooping up a seat in F3, but certainly does love it here as he now makes his way through towards the Rochenwerth curves again. Charlie Wirtz still hasn't left the rear of Simonazzi either. He's still in amongst it. 1.6 seconds though he needs to find at this point. In behind, and tell you what, look at that, Noel Leone cruising up, and this is the pace that we have seen for Norleone time and time again. And that's the reason why he has the fastest lap of the race so far. This is why he's the championship leader. Another young man who I spoke to at the beginning of the season, and he alluded to the fact that he loved this car so much as well, as he makes his way through the final sector, in the magnificent Mexican who would go on to take yet another victory yesterday. He'll be looking for the big scores again this time too, and not forgetting when we move into race 3, of course that being the reverse quali grid order, he'll be starting from P6 there as well. Now you shouldn't look at P6 as a negative, because essentially if you're in P6 it means you've done well.
That gap coming down again, another fastest lap of the race from Norleone. He's the only driver to get into the 123s. Oh, scratch that actually. Josh Dufek last time around just done a personal best and just dipped into the 123s, but Norleone the clear fastest at the moment. Now look at this lead gap. It's coming down very quickly indeed. It's back under 1 second for the first time since Simonazzi passed Charlie Wirtz for second place in this race a few laps ago. That is how the gap progression has been. Norleone absolutely eating into Wirtz's advantage for the last spot on the podium. 2.6 seconds in a single lap, and there's no stopping this kid.
No, you just look at him exiting out of some of the corners, utilising the apexes. He is literally dialed in on this car right now, finding absolutely everything, trying to extract the delta that he needs to bring himself within a podium fight, and it certainly isn't out of the question, because look at him, heading through the final corner. Wirtz is in clear sight. He is now closer than ever as he makes his way up towards turn 1, and Simonazzi, he himself, in the equation for potentially another race win. Remember the jubilation scenes in Parc Ferme last year, when of course Simonazzi would take his first Euroformula victory. He could be on the precipice of perhaps returning the favour in this feat, only this time doing it while crossing the line, as we see the cars venture up through towards turn 3 now. There's Wirtz behind Leone, getting himself nice and close. A little look in the mirrors just to let him know what's to come.
And Simonazzi hasn't won a race since the opening round all the way back in Portimao in April. It's been that long since Simonazzi stood on the top step of the podium. That was the only time he crossed the line first in the Euroformula, having taken his second win at the opening round, and now going for his third. He's really mounting the pressure here on Bryce Aaron, as is Norleone on Charlie Wirtz. 6 laps to go at the end of this one, and we have 2 enticing battles. The podium could look very, very different in about 6 laps time, and we're looking good for the time counter as well. We do have a 30-minute limit on these races. And we did start a little bit later than scheduled because we had red flags earlier in the day during some qualifying sessions, but it's been well worth the extra wait, because this has been one of the most thrilling races we've seen all season long, not only with Norleone battling away with Josh Dufek, but now the lead battle and the battle for the last spot on the podium as well. And Norleone looks like he's lining up a manoeuvre here. Simonazzi not quite as close for the lead now. Bryce Aaron was able to respond and go 2/10 quicker on that previous lap and done a personal best in the 3rd sector as well. Norleone once again looks up the inside into turn 3. And he's had plenty of practice at following a car in this race and how to get past one that is quite a stubborn defender.
Yeah, he certainly is emphatic, is that of Norleone. And we now see the cars venture down through towards Slosh Gold again. Simonazzi trying to tie the delta up. There's Norleone literally right in the rear wing of Charlie Wirtz, getting into the slipstream. Just trying to follow him and every move that he may make. Maybe then try and have a little look in the mirrors just to maybe a little bit of sleight of hand of Norleone, just to give himself an opportunity, a window of a chance of perhaps securing a P3 and yet another podium to his cause. Of course, the championship fight still brewing onwards and onwards. We still have another 3 rounds after Red Bull Ring to come. And next time will, of course, be a trip to the Temple of Speed, where, of course, we go to Monza and then Mugello. 2 Italian rounds coming up before we finish the season at Barcelona.
Yeah, it's a busy time for the championship because we have 3 meetings happening in the space of 4 weeks. So these guys are going to be very, very busy, and I'm sure an awful lot fitter than they expected to be by the end of this month as well. Very race prepped. And then the final round in Barcelona, as you mentioned, towards the end of October. I'm sure Noel Leon will have one hand on the trophy by then, if not already sealed up. Noel Leon now, this could be his opportunity for the last spot on the podium. Verts has to defend on the inside. Noel Leon just locks up a little bit, runs a little bit wide, but still gets a decent enough exit. Has to dart back over to the right-hand side. Verts sees it coming and defends for the next braking zone, and now Noel Leon will have to go the long way round once again. He hasn't been able to make this work all race long. Brakes very, very late, almost close to contact, but Verts stands his ground. This time, the up and under works a treat for him, and he's out-dragged Verts by the time they get into the left-hander here at turn 6, and Noel Leon is on the podium.
That is a move of sheer confidence again. Noel Leon displaying certainly displaying the qualities that he possesses that have essentially granted him a place in the championship. Let's take a look at the replay of this, because this is literally, it's Swan Lake-esque. This is something Monet would write. Down the inside, heading out of Slosh Gold, teed himself up, heading through turn 5. That is absolutely sensational.
I mean, he was 3/4 of a car length ahead when they got to the braking zone, but still made the up and under, and yeah, cleared Verts' car and just judging it to perfection. Now Simonazzi had a bit of a monster lap a few laps ago and has brought the gap right back down again. It's now half a second with 4 laps remaining, and they were pretty much on equal footing. Simonazzi about a 10th quicker last time around, and now the gap 4 tenths as Simonazzi soaks up that slipstream going into turn 3.
Yeah, heading down now towards Slosh Gold. The gap between the two is very, very slender. 4 tenths now is all that separates them. The Italian, the gallant Italian, Francesco Simonazzi. Bryce Aaron still in charge right now, but I tell you what, a lot can happen in 3 and a bit laps time. And I tell you now, Francesco Simonazzi, he'll look to gamble. He'll want to be on the top step of the podium here in the Euroformula Open Championship, where he has had successes, tasted the blissfulness of victory, as has Bryce Aaron himself. As I said, 3 times a race winner. He's looking to make it 4. And I'm sure that Simonazzi would like to join the crew of winners here in Euroformula Open this season that have scored more than 1 race victory. Simonazzi only having 1 to his name so far, but 4 podiums overall as he looks to now stretch down towards turn 1. Still Aaron holding his own, with Simonazzi now haunting that rear wing, and he's getting very close and personal now, heading through towards turn 1, heading out of Lauda. He'll try and open up the throttle as they make their way up towards Remus.
Yeah, Simonazzi took another 1/4 of a second out of Bryce Aaron's advantage on that previous lap, and could now well be within striking distance by the time they get down to turn 3. What's Bryce Aaron going to do with this? He covers towards the inside, forces Simonazzi the long way round, but a beautiful switchback again. They touch, and Bryce Aaron is sent spinning on the exit of turn 3, and Simonazzi goes through into the lead, but under very controversial circumstances.
Oh, Francesco, I think that could be looked at by the stewards. I think it was pretty clear cut. He has made that move before. He did it earlier on, only this time it wasn't as successful, and he may have sustained damage. We're not quite sure. We'll have to see how that suspension is held up. But here is the replay of the moment, and you can just see they're going defensive, as you'd expect from Bryce Aaron, cutting to the inside dramatically, though at the very last minute with Simonazzi. Oh yeah, I don't think that's going to wash here, Chris.
It was tight. Simonazzi was a beautiful dummy, and as you say, he did that move earlier on. It worked really, really well. I think maybe Bryce didn't quite see it coming, but it could be 6-1 half dozen of the other. But Simonazzi comes across the stripe. 2 laps to go now. His advantage is 2.4 seconds. Unsurprisingly, that incident is under investigation by the stewards. So Noel Leon could actually come away with a win.
Yeah, he could.
In all of this, because he's now in second.
He could well do. And let me just say as well, he's right on the tail of him already. 1.5 seconds, and the gap is still coming down. And I tell you what, Noel Leon is certainly working bits. An incident involving, as we've said, cars 23 and 84, turn 3 under investigation.
Yeah, and actually, I think Simonazzi's got a problem here, because Leon is taking time out of him, hand over fist.
Yeah, he is.
It's not just from the contact. Simonazzi's got to have some sort of damage, so Noel Leon could yet win this one on the road. He's taken half a second out of him in the first sector alone. And look at this, the last spot on the podium is still not done, because Dufek has arrived on the scene with Charlie Verts as well. So Verts given a reprieve, getting back up on the podium. Now he's under pressure for it again, but wow, a lap and a half to go. this is not settled by a long way. Noel Leon is now within 3/4 of a second. That gap was nearly 2 seconds at the start of the lap. That just shows how much Simonazzi is struggling since that contact. And, well, will he put up much of a fight here? Noel Leon could well still win this on the road. 1 lap to go here at the Red Bull Ring in race number 2, and it has not been a quiet one whatsoever. Noel Leon now just 0.3 of a second away from Simonazzi for the lead of this race. And I think this is going to change hands pretty quickly as Noel Leon sits in the slipstream now, rising up the hill. And Simonazzi wants to win this one on the road as well. Surely he will put up a fight because less than a lap now separates him and his second victory of the season. He defends going into turn 3. Noel Leon takes the wide line approach and gets up and under at the apex. Tries to outdrag Simonazzi towards turn 4. Has he just drawn enough of an overlap there? He's got the momentum, has Noel Leon, and he will have the line now into turn 4. This could be the lead for Noel Leon. That sounds like either the Motorpark or the BVM racing team cheering on there, man. But Noel Leon takes the lead, and it is the Motorpark boys celebrating as Noel Leon from 6th on the grid will take the win on the last lap here. And it's not over for 3rd because Wirtz and Dufek are very close together as well, but I think Dufek's running out of corners. This has been some drive from Noel Leon. Bearing in mind, he spent the first quarter of this race trying desperately to get around Josh Dufek and spending an awfully long time doing it. But since then, he has been absolutely unstoppable, and his fastest lap streak of every single session this weekend continues with race 2 victory at the Red Bull Ring.
Noel Leon with yet another special win to add to his plethora already. No one would have expected for him to achieve what he did. Just goes to show all the makings of a Euroformula Open champion. This is what brought him to the dance. He has just gone ahead and taken his 5th race win this season, with Simonazzi coming home in 2nd place. Obviously, the incident involving that of Bryce Aaron under investigation. Of course, we will await to hear what is decided around that. But a great showing as well from the likes of Charlie Wirtz, who has definitely shown improvement since yesterday's race. Joshua Dufek showing the same as well. But no one could stop Noel Leon, the championship dead ahead. And obviously with Bryce Aaron suffering what he did, it definitely does help his claims to the championship.
Yeah, so these are the results then of a very dramatic race too. Noel Leon, a 5th victory of the season by 1 second to Simonazzi provisionally while we wait the results of that investigation. Charlie Wirtz in 3rd ahead of his Crypto Tower racing teammate Josh Dufek, just holding him off at the line there. Cian Shields 5th, Bryce Aaron leading so much of that race, came home 6th in the end after being spun round by Simonazzi. Jakob Bergmeister and Vladimir Nechishil rounds out the order. Carlo Brajnik didn't make it in the end. And Noel Leon now leads by 56 points, practically undone the damage of his DNF in race 1 at Le Castellet, the weekend where Bryce Aaron took 30 points out of Noel Leon's lead. It's pretty much back where it was already. Cian Shields in 3rd and Simonazzi now 4th in the standings. And wow, I can't wait to hear from Noel Leon in this one. I kind of also want to hear from Francesco and Charlie and Josh. We're going to have to go and find some drivers after this, George, because that was some race.
It was a very, very cool and calculated race, but I think we definitely saw something out of Noel Leon this time around that I think we haven't yet seen. While he has, of course, won races in gallant fashion in the past, this was something different. He was placed in a position of adversity, started P6, he grinded, he sweated, he tried and elevated time and time again, and now as he stands on top of his car, he will celebrate victory! It's Noel Leon. And again, I will say it, probably the best performance he has listed out in Euroformula this season.
I will absolutely agree with that. I know Simonazzi, we think he had damage at the end there, but that was one of the best performances I've ever seen Noel Leon put in. That was unbelievable. Charlie Wirtz up on the podium for the first time in Euroformula Open and his debut weekend, and could well be 2nd if a penalty is applied for Simonazzi for that contact.
Well, if it's the case that he is penalised for the move, that does mean the 2 newcomers will feature on the podium. They will get a Ps 2 and 3, but obviously
Yes.
it's still all under the realms of debate right now until the stewards take a look at that. But you can just see the response there as well. I mean, again, I'm going to say it again. That was a very special win. And Noel Leon, whilst we've seen him win many races already, this is his 5th. I definitely think, and I'll
His
rehash
best
this
one.
again, it's definitely his best one.
Absolutely his best one. And now I hope Alfredo's down there and ready. Ah, yeah, I can see him there. We'll go and grab, go grab him in a sec. Just having a quick chat with Marcos Seber as well, who knows a thing or two about winning races as well.
I don't know what it was, but I couldn't push the high speed.
Ah, that's interesting. Hearing Wirtz saying he couldn't push in the high speed there. Just eardropped on that little conversation. I think we'll be hearing from Noel Leon in a second. In the meanwhile, here's your top 3. It's Charlie Wirtz for Crypto Tower Racing, his debut weekend in the championship for the Austrian on home soil. Provisionally, it's Francesco Simonazzi in second. What could have been were it not for that late contact with Bryce Aaron? But championship leader Noel Leon back on top in sensational form. He's with Alfredo.
On the top at the Red Bull Ring, but today the race, this morning the race was certainly more lively.
Yeah, it was a really fun race, really difficult. You know, I can push as the others because they are not in the championship contender. So yeah, it was quite difficult to risk for a move. But at the end, we get the win. Super happy with the car, with all the guys that works on the machine number 19. Was mega today. And yeah, let's see what we can do in race 3.
Good, well done.
Thank you.
Well, let's look back at highlights of a very dramatic race number 2 at the Red Bull Ring. It was Bryce Aaron who led away from reverse grid pole. Charlie Wirtz hanging on to second place ahead of Simonazzi in the opening stages. Noel Leon made up a place early on, up into 5th ahead of Kian Shields as Wirtz was defending his position. We saw Paolo Brajnik have a bit of a moment at turn 4, but Noel Leon spent an awfully long time looking at the back of Josh Dufek's car and at the side of it as well, but never seeing it in his mirrors until he eventually got it done with a sensational move around the outside of a couple of fast corners. Kian Shields took to the escape road at the final corner there, but lived to fight another day. And then we saw Simonazzi with the super aggressive move up the inside on Charlie Wirtz for second place. Sold him a perfect dummy to get up into that position. And then Charlie Wirtz coming under pressure from Noel Leon a little bit later on as well. Noel Leon got through for a spot on the podium. But this is the controversial moment of the race. Simonazzi going for the lead, making contact with Bryce Aaron and pitching the American round. And that is still under investigation by the stewards. Left in with damage, and Noel Leon sensationally taking the lead on the final lap and getting across the line for his 5th victory of the season. And an absolutely sensational drive from the young Mexican. And we will now go to the podium. Francesco Simonazzi. So Simonazzi. No, sorry. I thought for a second there they were announcing Simonazzi as 3rd, but no, he is still provisionally 2nd. And Noel Leon up on the podium, the Motor Park representative with him as well. Jakob Bergmeister will be there on the right-hand side as the rookie class winner, and Vladimir Netashil, the Gold Cup winner as well, on the right-hand side for car number 7. And we will hear the Mexican national anthem. Getting used to hearing that in Euroformula Open weekends now, aren't we?
Well, usually we would hear that, of course, with, well, last year we heard it with Alejandro Garcia, who was driven with the likes of Marcos Seibert in the LMS, and has done well off the back of that too. Noel Leon, yet another successful Mexican here in this series. Francesco Simonazzi lifting aloft the second place trophy, returning once again to the podium provisionally, obviously for now. The steward's still investigating. But Noel Leon, victor again for the 5th time, and here at Red Bull Ring a 2nd time here in the Euroformula Open Championship.
We're running out of superlatives for the lad, really, aren't we? If he doesn't end up in FIA F3 next year, then they're missing a trick. They really are. The other class trophies being handed out, the rookie class and the Gold Cup as well. Vladimir Netashil has a nice trophy to go alongside. I'm sure he can show that off to the models who were at his fashion show last night, and to his team. And he's got an awful lot of support here this weekend as well, with his sponsors showing a lot of support this weekend. So that is race number 2 sorted. We'll be back for race number 3 at 4:15 local time. We'll see you then.